Right, I'm just getting my mouse hovering over the pause in case the dog goes off on one, but I have had my post this morning. I am expecting another delivery, so just a warning if you suddenly hear the dog barking his head off. The first of 4 questions I'd like to cover today is, what does it mean to be a trauma-informed coach? Okay, this means that my training, my behaviour, my method and approach considers my client's trauma history and my own to prevent re-traumatization of the client or of myself while in session. For myself, this means making boundaries and making those boundaries from a place of love so that I can protect myself, but also to allow the client's exploration of their trauma without them re-traumatizing, focusing on the client's definition of safety. Because without safety, there is never transformation. So I'd now like to look at the 6 principles, the first one being safety. And I have attached to the top of my computer this little note, which I set up before I started doing practicum to remind me of those 6 principles. It sits up there in my line of sight so that they are not forgotten or moved away from at any point. The first one is safety and safer. That reminds me that it is my job to create and hold a safe space for that client, not just through their literal physical safety, but confidentiality, making sure that they feel that they're in a private environment so that they can trust me. And excuse my nose, so that they can explore trauma from this safe space. The next thing is, on my little note, is transparency builds trust. That is, again, the safety, the trust between myself and the client. Also bringing in one of the concepts from a little bit later on, which is the consent, because asking consent from a client and listening to them when they give it or when they don't also builds trust, which adds to safety. So the third one of these principles is that empowerment, voice, choice, and consent. And I put this one in third because it builds so much on listening, building the session together with the client, listening to their voice, giving them choice. It's that voice, choice, consent, and that consent bringing back to trust and to safety. So the next one is, on my notes, a power-balanced partnership. That to me means it's a client-led session, that I am no more important to the session than the client is. We are equals and going forwards together in this. It's a collaboration. It's not me like telling a client what they have to do. Next one is together we are trauma survivors. Now I put together on that because I had recently been doing some coaching sessions with a lady who had been raped, and I've been raped. So we had that in common, and we were able to support each other in a power balanced way. But also I was able to hold space for her in a more informed way because we'd shared that particular trauma. And the last one on my note is acknowledge and be aware of the isms. Right, this one is quite a detailed one, but at the same time it hovers below all of these other things. It's things like race, color, religion, any kind of belief system, and to acknowledge those in the client is to respect that they have views They have opinions. And myself, as a white English-speaking woman, I'm quite naturally in this place of privilege, because I haven't had to deal with half of that stuff. Though I have dealt with being a woman in a male-dominated environment in the workplace, things like religion, race, the color of my skin just don't come up for me. So in session and with clients, I would always want to acknowledge and respect any kind of ism that they are dealing with, whether it's to do with, like I said, their race, their color, their sexual orientation, their gender identity, all of those things. And to remind me of those things is kind of important, because of my place as this white woman, and that privilege. What I always try to do is look at the person in front of me as another human. So I'm a human, they're a human, we are humans. It's not a matter of me being better than them because of the training that I've been through, or them being better than me. It's all about that equality through the safety, through the trust, through the empowerment of the client, being power balanced, being part of that peer relationship if it's appropriate, or bringing people together in group situations where they are peers to each other, trauma survivors to each other, to be seen, to be heard, to be acknowledged, and to know that they're not alone. Okay, so the next thing, or the next question, is what is the difference between trauma-informed and not trauma-informed? Well, one thing that sort of jumped out at me when we were doing this part of the training is that it's so easy, if you are not trauma-informed, to use ill-considered language that may feel, may make a client feel that that their trauma is not as big as somebody else's, or that the thing that happened to them was a choice. Just one example, say if a woman has been sexually assaulted or raped, that their clothing meant that they were asking for it, that kind of situation. Also, people who are not trauma informed may be unable to see or feel trauma responses in a client while they're in session with that client. They may not be able to track and sense that person's nervous system, and to help them to balance themselves, to find the ground again, so that they're stable to continue in the session. Obviously, going back to that empowerment, giving that client the choice to continue down a route or not. Every session with a trauma-informed coach will be a collaboration. For instance, client goals will not be prescribed. They'll not be presented in a coercive way. It will not be a matter of you need to do this or you'll never feel right again. Those kind of threatening things. I don't even like saying them, even in this environment, because to prescribe or coerce a client to behave in a certain way means that their body and their awareness is not going to be taking this journey. It's just going to be me projecting onto them, and that is something that I would pray that I never ever do. So finally, am I prepared? I believe I am prepared, because I'm aware of what those trauma responses may be. I've been trained in techniques to upregulate or downregulate a nervous system that's beginning to go down a route where re-traumatization may come up. In session, it's difficult to express in this kind of just talking to a camera, but in session there's that container, there's that connectedness between myself and my client, so I can feel and support their nervous system while maintaining my own energetic boundaries. Also, quite importantly, my preparation for coaching in a trauma-informed way includes titration, gently, slowly, baby steps towards the client feeling past their experiences, integrating those experiences and those past wounds into themselves as a lesson rather than, you know, a thing that happened to them. Because trauma is not the thing that happened. It's how the person reacts to it, how they reflect upon it. So am I confident to go forwards, to go out there as a trauma-informed coach? Yes, I am confident. Not only am I confident, but I'm compassionate. I am strong, almost fierce in my intention to support a client, to go where they need to go, or support them in not going where they want to go. Choice again. But I can hold space. I can hold space for an individual to look at their trauma, or to look at things that are closer to them than the trauma, things that they've put in the way to protect themselves from the trauma. And I have held space for individuals and for groups, and I am so confident that I can go on to hold that space for individuals and groups, for them to look at and to process those wounded parts into their integrated future self. So my business is called Integrated Human. There will be courses called things like Integrated You and Integrated Me, because that integration is not to take that trauma and cast it out. It's to integrate those parts of oneself into who you are now, to learn those lessons in a carefully created way of comfort, protection, safety, trust, power balanced and empowering conversations, where I can not only empower, but I can support and educate and help humanity just get to wherever it is they want to be in their futures, without any traumatic incidents in their past or in their bodies holding them back. So I think that's everything. Just looking at my questions. Yes, that's everything for today. Thank you.